I'm a baby boomer, child of the 60s. I've been married for over 40 years to the same woman. First and only marriage for each of us, with two fantastic adult children to boot. A marriage not without its challenges from time to time, just like everybody else. But still, why at this point in my life, when I encountered this crazy short story called Bigfoot Stole My Wife, a story about a man whose wife leaves him, why was I so haunted by it? What did it have to do with me? Nothing, it seemed. But then, on the other hand, during my senior year at Cornell, I was dating a classmate. We called them co-eds back then. Who knows what a co-ed is? Not too many. To protect the innocent, let's call her Nancy. Our relationship was pretty serious and loving. Once spring arrived, we'd often escape from campus in my old Chevy Impala and drive to the local state park with its majestic waterfall. We'd go there midweek when no one else was around, swim together in the swirling pool of water at its base. Not so much swimming as hugging, kissing, caressing. But then, on a sunny June afternoon, just before graduation day, she suggests that we have a picnic lunch on the banks of beautiful Lake Cayuga. Very romantic, with the gentle waves glistening in the sunlight. Nancy seems a bit nervous during the lunch, but I don't say anything. Then, as we're finishing our lunch, she turns to me and she says, I have something I need to tell you. Okay, what is it? I'm going to marry my ex-boyfriend David this fall. I don't think I heard anything she said after that. I was stunned. Don't get me wrong, I was 21 and nowhere near ready to get married. But I had no idea this was coming. Was I totally blind? Fast forward 2 years later. Summer after graduate school, I'm traveling through Europe, my first trip abroad. 14 cities in 6 weeks, Eurail pass. Very exciting. But the most thrilling part was another young woman. Let's call her Nancy number 2. We first meet at the Uffizi Museum in Florence. Then it turns out we're staying in the same youth hostel there. And then we meet again, coincidentally, at the Vatican in Rome a couple days later. It's fate. One thing leads to another, and we decide to travel together to Nice. We spent a very romantic week on the French Riviera, long walks on the rocky beach, motorbiking on the road to Monaco overlooking the Mediterranean, wine-filled dinners in open-air seaside cafes, fun-filled long days, long, loving nights. At the end of the week, we reluctantly part, promising to see each other as soon as we get home. She continues her trip, going on to Athens while I go on for my last stop in Paris. After we both get home, I call Nancy number 2, and she seems strangely distant. Alan, I have something to tell you. Okay, what is it? Well, after I left you in Nice, I met another guy in Athens. I guess it was love at first sight. He's a doctor in Chicago, near where I grew up, and we decided to get married next year after I graduate. You can't make this stuff up. I should mention that that fancy doctor from Chicago was screwing every nurse in the hospital, and their marriage ended in divorce. But that's another story. The point is that once again, I didn't see it coming. I was clueless. But this was many, many, many years ago. Why did any of this ancient history matter? Why should I give a shit now? So I decided to go back and look at the Bigfoot Stole My Wife story again, as well as some other stories by this author, Ron Carlson, to see what I could see and learn what I can learn. This is a work of fiction. And any resemblance to actual events, locales, or persons, living or dead, is merely coincidental. No coincidence is going to bring back the young person with whom I invented modern love. Love as we now know it. Love in which so many people dabble today, but do not study or understand or allow to course through their veins like some necessary thing. We were the last people to use love right. I see it for the first time. You can't get anything back. If you want the coincidence where some character based on me gets the amazing girl back and has his heart start again after so many years, you're going to have to look for another story. So, the problem is credibility. The problem, as I'm finding out over the last few weeks, is basic credibility. A lot of people look at me and they say, sure, Bigfoot stole your wife. And it makes me sad to see it. You know that look of disbelief in each person's eyes? Don't get me wrong, Trudy's disappearance makes me sad and I'm sick in my heart about it. About where she may be and how he's treating her. What they do all day. Maybe she's getting enough to eat. But I believe he's being good to her. I mean, I feel it. And I'm going to keep hoping I see her again, but my belief is that I probably won't. In the 2.5 years we were married, I often had the feeling that I'd come home from the track and something would be funny. Oh, she'd say things. So, like, one of these days I'm not going to be here when you come home. Things like that. Things like everybody says. That's how stupid not to see them as omens. When I get out of bed in the early afternoon, I'd stand right here at the sink. Stand here at the sink and I could see her working in her garden. Cut off Levi's and bikini top. Weeding, planting, watering. I mean, it was obvious. While I was too busy thinking about the races, weighing the odds, checking the jockey rosters, he was out there watching her. He was probably watching her all summer. So, in a way, it was my fault. But what could I have done? Bigfoot steals your wife. I mean, even if you're home, it's going to be a mess. He's big, and he's not well trained. So, when I came home that night, it was about 11:30. All the lights were on, which wasn't really anything new, but in the ordinary mess of the place, there was a little different, signs of a struggle. There was a spilled Dr. Pepper on the counter, and the fridge door was open. And there was something else. Smell of Bigfoot. It was disgusting. It was hideous. Guy's not clean. Anyway, half of Trudy's clothes are gone, but not all of them, and there was no note. Well, I know what it is. It's just about midnight there in this kitchen that smells like some part of hell. I closed the fridge door. It's the saddest thing in the world, huh? There's this picture of Trudy and me, leaning against her Toyota. It was taken last summer. There's Trudy in her bikini top, her belly brown as a bean. She looks like a kid. Well, she was a kid, I guess. 26. The 2 times I took her to the track, all the guys looked at me like, oh, I don't already know her. But she didn't like the races. Now, she really just liked her garden, the Chinese cooking, and Buster, her German Shepherd, who I guess Bigfoot stole too. Or ate. Anyway, I closed the fridge door, and it was like part of my life closed. So, I look at Rick, and it reminds me of myself When I was maybe 12 years old, 7th grade, I had my first girlfriend. Let's call her the original Nancy. I was really shy, interested in girls, but scared to death about anything to do with sex. This Nancy is in my homeroom. She's just moved into town and she's new in school. And one day, a friend of hers comes up and says to me, whispers in my ear, "Nancy likes you." I'm not sure what to do about that, but I sheepishly begin to talk to Nancy when I'm able to summon up the courage. At parties, we dance together. The jitterbug. Remember the jitterbug? Dick Clark in American Bandstand? Anyway, so I'm a pretty good dancer. I'd actually won a jitterbug contest the previous summer. Strangely, I can dance with girls fine, but I'm still afraid of them. At some point, I make Nancy a metal ring in shop class, and I give it to her. She puts it on a chain and tells me that we're going steady, whatever that means. Soon after that, the same friend of hers comes up to me after school and whispers into my ear, "Nancy wants you to kiss her." I nod in a dumb sort of way, and I say, "Oh, okay." And that Saturday night is the night, a party in the basement of a friend's house. Everyone's very excited about it. I get to the party a little late, and by this time there are several couples in the dark corners of the room making out, something I've never done. I see Nancy across the room. She sees me. She runs over to me and, "Hey, Ellen, let's dance." "Sure," I say. "Great," she says, pulling me into the middle of the room. Thank God it's a jitterbug. The Everly Brothers. "Wake up, little Susie, wake up." I'm safe for now. We dance a couple dances, and then it happens. Slow dance. The 5 satins. In the still shoo-doo-be-doo-be-doo of the night. I take a chance, and I put both my arms around Nancy. She put her arms around my neck, pulls me closer, and as we begin to sway to the music, she looks up at me and begins to close her eyes. This is it. I look at her, and then in the most romantic way I know, I kiss her on the cheek. She looks at me for just a second, and then runs off to her friends, whispering and laughing. That Monday morning, back in school, a ring was on my desk, and she soon had a new boyfriend. Cool guy. Billy Bloomberg. They dated all through high school. So, when I was 13 years old, my mother's trailer was washed away in the flooded waters of the Harley River. Swept 31 miles, ending right side up at nearly dead level, just outside of Mercy. In fact, in the old weed-eaten parking lot of the abandoned potash plant. I know this to be true because I was inside the trailer the whole time with my pal Noogie Reiniger, who found the experience more life-changing than I did. Now, who's going to believe this story? I mean, besides me, I was there. I mean, people are going to say, "Come on, the trailer floated 31 miles? Don't you mean 31 feet?" You can believe this. And it was not a smooth ride. We'd rip along for 10 seconds, dropping and growling over rocks and rumbling over tree stumps, and then wham! Front end of the trailer would lodge against a rock, and then whoa! We'd wheel around sharp as a carnival ride. Worse, really. Because the furniture would be thrown against the far side and us with it, and then sometimes we'd end up in a chair, and sometimes the chair would sit on us. We ran along all day, it seemed, until we finally washed up at Mercy. My mother, because she didn't have the funds to haul our rig back to Griggs, worried for a little while. Then the mayor arranged to let us stay where we were. So after my long ride in the trailer down the flooded Harley River, I grew up in a parking lot outside of Mercy. And I'll tell you the truth, it wasn't so bad, even though our trailer didn't smell straight ever again. You can believe that. Now, I don't really care if people believe me or not. Does that change anything? Would that bring Trudy back here? Pull the weeds in the garden? Look, I want to tell you right now, you're going to have to look everywhere. And it's going to be tiring and frustrating, like if your knees hurt and you still haven't looked down that one street. You're going to have to go all the way down there and look around and under things, and I'll tell you right now, there's no love like me down there. Look at the internet like everybody else does, and you'll find a jillion motes of nothing. And something like that will wring your heart dry. I'm just saying. Ask your friends and look at their friends. Oh, they're going to totally show you their friends. Nice people, but what? Is there a love like me among them? Several of those guys dress nice and have modern hair, but seriously, keep searching. Drink lots of water on your search and drive carefully. And from time to time, remember the boy who loves you, who stands exactly where you haven't looked, with a butter knife in your hand above an open jar, waiting to see if you want marmalade and cheese on your toast. It's going to pop in a minute, and he knows you like it warm. But nobody believes me. But I myself can't believe all the suspicion and cynicism in today's world. Even at the races, some character next to me will poke over my tip sheet and ask me, "Hey, you believe this stuff?" If I believe, what is there to believe? The horse's name, what he did last time out? I look back at the guy who's too cheap to go $2 on a program, and I say, it's history. It's historical fact here. Believe, huh? Is a fact. I believe everything. As I think about it, no one believes anything anymore. Give me one example of somebody believing one thing, huh? Look, listen. Bigfoot steals your wife, and you're in for some changes. You come home from the track having missed the daily double by a neck. And when you enter the house you're paying for, in which you and your wife's German Shepherd live, and your wife and her German Shepherd are gone, as is some of her clothing, there's nothing to believe. Bigfoot stole her, it's a fact. What should I do, ignore it? But it happened, and nephew Chuck came down and said something like, "Well, if Bigfoot stole her, why'd they take the Toyota?" Christ, what a cynic. Have you ever read anything anywhere about Bigfoot not being able to drive? He'd be cramped in there, but I'm sure he could manage it. Yes. Wonderful. I'm ready. Just hold on. 1 second. Yeah, here I come. Good. I am Bigfoot. The Bigfoot. You've been hearing about me for some time now, seeing artist renderings and perhaps a photograph or two. I should say right here that the artist rendering is one thing, but some trumped up photograph is entirely another. The one that really makes me sick purports to show me standing in a stream in Northern California. Let me tell you something. Bigfoot never gets his feet wet. And I've only been to Northern California once, long enough to check out Redding and Eureka. Both too quiet for a guy like me. Anyway, all week long, people I've contacted have been wondering why I finally have gone public. Why, they say, well, why climb out of the woods and go through the trouble of meeting the press, so to speak? Well, first of all, I don't live in the woods year-round, which is a popular misconception of my lifestyle. I mean, sure, I like the woods, but I need action, too. It's just not the woods, okay? Why I came forward at this time concerns the truest thing I ever read about myself in the paper. The headline reads, "Bigfoot Stole My Wife." That's right on the money. But above it in small print is the real story. Heartbroken husband's anguished cry. And now I read the article every word twice. It was poorly written, but it was all true. I stole the guy's wife. It wasn't the first and it wasn't the last. But when I went back and read that anguished husband, it got me a little. I've been, as you've probably read, in all 50 states and 11 foreign countries. I've never been to Tibet, in case you're wondering. That's some other guy. Maybe the one who's crossing that stream in Northern California. But in each place I've been, there's a woman. Come on. Who is surprised about that? I don't only steal them. In fact, I never steal them. But I do call them away. And when they come with me. I know my powers, and I use my powers. And when I do call a woman, she comes. So here I am. It's kind of a confession, I guess. Kind of a warning. I've been around, I've been all over the world, except Tibet. I don't know if that guy's interested in women or not. And I've seen thousands of women standing at their kitchen windows. Their stare in the mid-afternoon goes 1,000 miles. Thousands of women shuffling in the soft twilight of malls, biding their time until things get lovely. And things get lovely when I call. I cannot count them all. I cannot list the things these women are doing while their husbands are out there in another world. But one by one, I'm meeting them on my terms. I am Bigfoot. I am not from Tibet. I go from village to town to city to village. At present, I'm watching your wife. That's why I'm here tonight. To tell you fairly, man to man, I suppose, I'm watching your wife, and I know for a fact that when I call, she'll come. So, credibility. People are always saying, don't believe everything you hear, everything you read. And I'm here to tell you, believe everything. Believe everything you hear, everything you read. Believe your eyes, your ears. Believe the small hairs in the back of your neck. Believe all of history, all versions of history, all predictions of the future. Believe every weather forecast. Believe in God, the afterlife, unicorns, and showers on Tuesday. Everything has happened. Everything is possible. I came home from the track to find the cupboard bare. Trudy's not home. The place smells funny. Hairy. It's a fact, and I know it's a fact. Bigfoot has been in my house. Bigfoot stole my wife. She's gone. Believe it. I gotta believe it. Oh, poor Rick. I had my Nancys, maybe 7 of them in all, and who knows, maybe Bigfoot stole them too. I know now that I'm no longer that young man pining over a lost love song. Huh? But I must tell you, when I finally did meet my wife, Donna, things didn't come together so easily. Now did they? It's 1976. My boss has sent me on a 6-month assignment to London. Before I leave, Donna buys each of us a small tape recorder. Remember those? International phone calls are pricey, so the idea was that we would talk into the tape recorder, and after a tape is filled, we'd mail it off to each other. I talk into that machine late every night, kind of like a therapy session. 2 months into my trip, Donna calls me on the phone, a highly unusual and very expensive thing to do. Do you mean it, she asks? Mean what? What you said on the tape? What did I say? On your tape, you said that you decided what you wanted was to get married and have children. I did? Yes, you did? You mean play back tape for you? No. I believe you. So? Well, I guess I meant that as a general statement. Nothing specific. A general statement? Really? Really? What an ass I was. To this day, I don't know why Donna didn't just tell me to go fuck myself and hang up on me. Instead, though, she hatched a different plan. A couple weeks later, she comes to visit me in London. She drops her bag on the bed. She looks me straight in the eyes. So, what are we going to do when we get home? We're getting married or what? Well, I'm blindsided. I had no idea she was still holding me to those words I'd said on that tape, words said into a machine laid on a lonely, dark winter night in London weeks earlier. Well, wouldn't it make sense for us to live together for a while? Well, Donna has this thing she does. She calls it acid eyes. This cold, stone-faced stare that can burn a hole in your brain. And that's when you know she's serious. Very, very serious. At this particular moment, the acid eyes are coming out of every pore of her body. Her face is like granite. Let's be clear here. We've been seeing each other for over a year. Last summer, you came with me to Chicago for my father's funeral. You met my mother. I'm turning 30 this summer. I'm too old for this shit. Oh, I just look at her, not sure what to say. A flood of thoughts runs through my mind. She's great, beautiful, smart. She loves me. I love her, but she's not perfect. But who is? I decide my resistance is not only futile, but also ridiculous. I love this woman and want to spend the rest of my life with her. So I take a pillow off the bed, place it on the floor, bend down with one knee on the pillow, and I say, Donna, will you marry me? Romantic, right? Wrong. She gives me the acid glare, turning quickly away from me and stares out the window at the rainy London street. Are you angry at me? Don't you ever make fun of me again. I'm not kidding. I want to marry you. She now looks at me, acid eyes in full gear. Marry you? Sure. I'll marry you. Great. Whatever you want. Let's get married. Well, I can only think of one thing for me to do. I pick up the phone and call my mother back in New Jersey. Hi, Mom. A very anxious Jewish mother, knowing the cost of an international phone call, asked, "What's the matter, honey? Is everything all right?" Yes, Mom. Yes, ma'am. Donna's here in London with me, and we wanted you to be the first person to know that we've decided to get married. I don't remember hanging up the phone. All I remember is the look on Donna's face. Her acid eyes dissolve into tears as she throws her arms around me. We were married 6 months later and began to write our own story. Not about a monster, not about the Nancys, but about two lovers who grow together, dream together, disagree together, argue together, solve problems together, respect together, travel together, parent together, move together, renovate together, nurse each other back to health together, rehab together, recover together, cry and grieve together, rejoice together, adore together, cherish together, touch together, love together.